Hello, beautiful angels. It is always an honor to be here with you with our Green Tara group dedicated to ascension, of planetary ascension, which also means return to nature. And so that's something to always remember that our path of ascension is a natural process and it is about falling in love with all of nature once again, whether that is planetary nature or cosmic nature or universal nature or galactic nature or solar nature or other planetary nature. It's all one Maha Prakriti, the great Mother Nature. And so, as you know, we have different timelines, which are like rivers of possibilities on this planet. But there is that one really wonderful timeline that I recommend sticking to and hopping in that river. And that is the timeline of being in love with nature, honoring nature in all things. And we always, as humanity, make choices in every single moment with our thoughts, with our actions, with our words, all of it. It's just choice in every moment. And so there's that wonderful choice. And that is always preferring nature, connecting with her. We connect with her through meditation, but we also connect with mantras. And when we chant sacred mantras, like for example here, the Kalki mantra, we are invoking aspects of nature. In ancient Egypt, these aspects of nature were called neteru. And so you see how similar it is to the word nature, neteru, the great forces of nature. And we recently worked with the great priest from the Grand Central Sun, Don Humberto, who came to Mount Shasta and really blessed this world with incredible energy as he was pulling down the strings from the Grand Central Sun and downloading them into this planetary body through the people who were present, but it really went into the earth. And so as we were working with him, he was working also with the Neteru, and he was using in his Kero language, which is the language that came from Mu, he was using the word Nustas. So we were working with the Nustas. So amazing things are happening here. You know, we right now are in a world where artificial intelligence is very intelligent, but one thing it doesn't have is consciousness. And so in cosmos, if we look at forces of nature, those are not only intelligent, but they are also conscious. And so we dedicate this work that we do here at Green Tara to the forces of nature, the cosmic mother nature. And of course, that includes all of consciousness, whether it is in a being, whether it is in a being that we would call, for example, an ascended master or an avatar, or whether it is in a being of nature. And so we will be working now with a lot of these beings of nature. We will be working with the Devas. We will be working with the angelic queendoms. And that is something that really arose in this world as an invitation during the Lion's Gate. So it's been a while since we've been here together as this group. We also have our Green Tara Circle, which simply allows us to host these calls on the go without any preparation. And it's just so easy. It takes 1 minute, 2 minutes to schedule a call in Circle and then to do these presentations. So we have done some Circle calls, and but this is our larger group of Green Tara. And so we're going to go through some of the updates that some of you might have missed. So we have often worked with mantras, and the reason for working with mantras is that it's always life-changing. So, of course, we've had some mystics in this world who didn't include sound in their work, but I would say to be more holistic, it is important to work with sound. And that is the sacred sound, the cosmic sound. The most powerful sound that I have seen, the way it works, is of course Om. Om is really a cosmic hum. So when you open your inner ears, you start hearing this hum that sounds like Om. And Om, we've done so many calls about, what Om can do. It can do absolutely so much for us. And so I recommend, without going into the detail today, chanting your Oms, using sound. And then when we combine it with some words that are like, I would want to say maybe spells because it doesn't sound so good, but it's magic. And so you're making the phone call. So when you chant your mantra, that's your phone call. And not only a phone call, which means trying to make contact with these higher realms and higher forces and higher energies, but also some mantras that I have seen, they simply restructure our etheric body. They restructure even in our physical body energies. They open channels within us. And we can call these channels meridians, but they are also energetic channels that can be burdened with energies that may be, from our mental body, emotional body. So when we use a mantra, it also is very cleansing. And so we are opening up these channels within our consciousness, within our awareness, and we are cleaning our field, which is always desirable, and we are reconnecting to these higher sources of light. And so, for example, we often have worked with the sky mantra. And if you don't know the sky mantra, again, we've done many videos on the sky mantra. I recommend chanting your sky mantra every day. The wonderful thing about sky mantra, it already has Om in it, just as the Kalki mantra. So we will start working with the Kalki mantra. Kalki is an avatar that is expected to embody on this planet when Kali Yuga, the darkness, the dark age ends, and when the new golden age starts and begins. And so we are invoking this avatar Kalki. It's the divine embodiment of Vishnu. So I believe, as many mystics do, that this is the year of the embodiment of Kalki. I cannot tell you that 100% because I really don't know it. I hope it, I believe it, and many of us in this world believe that this is the year of such a big transformation. When a big avatar embodies on Mother Earth, then it changes the entire vibration of the planet. So big beings like that, they change the vibration of the whole planet. And you and me are here in this world too, changing the vibration of this planet, of this realm, because of course we might not be avatars, but we still have power and we have influence. And for that reason, even just chanting your mantras, it creates powerful vibrations within you, but also around you. And so we will be working with Kalki mantra. We'll be learning. I don't often talk about the meanings of mantras because it's the power of sound. The meaning itself is not as important as the power of sound. So I've been working with Om every single day since the day Divine Mother revealed to me the power of Om to change the quantum field within which we all are. So every single one of us in a quantum field, it has strings. The quantum field is made of strings. They are all around us. The string theory of rainbow light all around us. And sometimes these strings are a little broken. So if you imagine that you are in something that reminds you maybe of a spider web, so if some of the strings, the threads of the spider web are broken, it is not intact. But every Om instantaneously repairs your quantum field. And so that's the power of Om. So that was in 2020, in March, when Divine Mother showed me how this works. And ever since then, it's just like a natural thing to do every day is to chant some Oms. And I noticed the power of some Oms, not all. So it truly is the power of sound. So let's say, I'm meditating and I'm in a state of consciousness where I can see the quantum field, and then I'm chanting my Oms. And some Oms simply don't have that big power, but then it depends on the frequency that you use. It depends on the sound. It really is like music. So when it's just the right tone, and I believe that's why the yogis recommended so much repetition, so that maybe there is a possibility you just hit the right tone as you chant. So I've seen that as sometimes, now and again, and actually seldom, I hit the right tone, then that Om opens up higher and higher and higher realms. So that's just experience with Om. So in the Kalki mantra, again, it's not so much about meaning, but it's about tone, creating vibration. And we are all wanting, in this ascension process, to be increasing our vibration. So to actually vibrate faster, because matter is being liberated into spirit. Matter is being liberated into light. So it's a faster vibration. So these mantras, like the Sky Mantra, Om by itself, or the Kalki Mantra, are helping us to increase the speed of how we vibrate. So we're gonna look at the Kalki Mantra. So Kalki is the name for this avatar. And so we are working with some words that I actually did want to show you the meaning of them because they're very powerful. Sorry, for some reason they here. And so we have Sarveshvaraya, the Lord of the Supreme ruler of the universe. And you know from some of the mantras that we chanted in the past, Ishvara. So we have Swami Kalishwar, we have the beautiful mantra Ishvara. So this is Ishvaraya, the indwelling God, Lord, or Supreme Being who governs existence. And then, of course, we know the word avatar. So in this mantra Avataraya, and it's the divine descent, the incarnation of God on earth. And so I invite everyone to once again go into your heart, and we're going to be, if you feel like it, of course, chanting and invoking Kalki together.
Om Shri Kalki Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Ishwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Avataraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Ishwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Avataraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Ishwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Avataraya Namaha. Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Ishwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Avataraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Ishwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Avataraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Kalki Ishwaraya Namaha.
beautiful, beautiful mantra. And, I always think about the big picture. Why are we here? What are we doing? What is the highest potential for every single one of us? How do we get there now? How do we self realize it now? And so when we chant mantras, it liberates the human self from the illusions that surround us, the illusions that run so deep within us, as you know, not only in our physical body, but mainly in our mind, in our emotional body, but also in our etheric body. And so, with singing of the mantras, that's the healing sound. It has very big power. And truly, if you just, chant a few moments a day, it can change your life. We are beings who already have a self realized divine self, of course. Each one of you, each one of us has a divine self. It is the highest aspect of our being. But there is a little disconnect. And the disconnect is that sometimes we miss these really active, open channels between us as the human person. And then the next very big aspect of our being would be our soul. And then from the soul to the divine self. So this is a channel. And of course, as yogis, we know this channel runs all the way into the human body through the nervous system and the spine. And so, what we do when we chant mantras, we are liberating our field to be able to reconnect with that which we already are. But as you know, it is not always working properly simply because the person is slightly or very disconnected from the higher aspects of their own being. So, our purpose here at Green Tara, which has everything to do with our divine nature, is to reconnect these channels so that everyone has self realization of the soul and then self realization of the divine self. And then once everything is flowing and working perfectly, we simply are at a different level of consciousness instead of illusion. And so mantras liberate us. Mantras reconnect us. It's the power of sound. It's the power of creation. And so here we again, in this case, I wanted to show the translation, somewhat translation of what these sounds truly are. And it's just such a blissful mantra to be singing. So we'll be working with the Sky Mantra and the Kalki Mantra. As we went through the Lion's Gate, we received so many instructions to really pay possibly no attention to the illusion that still surrounds us in this world, to stop empowering it with our attention, and instead go into our inner being, ideally our divine self, through the heart and through the pillar of light, and to create, to create, and to create. Because it was during this Lion's Gate that we received such a big gift of the manna from heaven. We received unbelievable energy that was given to us to create the new, create the new. So if I take my attention and I put it on the world, politics and stuff and who knows what, well, I'm empowering it, of course, because I'm feeding it with my attention. My attention is energy. Our thoughts are energy. But if we want to create something new, it is best to have a clean canvas. Divine Mother once told us that if we look at all in this world, and of course there is a lot of suffering in this world, then our canvas will have that picture in front of us. And so how do we want to change it? Do we want to simply improve it by making, little strokes of new colors on the dirt of the canvas? Or do we want to go with a clean slate and go from our creative mind and paint a new picture? It is best to paint a new picture instead of trying to cover up the old. And so we want to start with that freshness, especially now, since this powerful Lionsgate. Since this powerful Lionsgate, we had so many unbelievable things happen within the ethers, within this planet, within this galaxy, within this universe. It's hard to keep up with the changes, but we are in a new flow of energy in this universe. We have a new opening in this galaxy. We have a new opening that leads to these universal energies. And, all the clairvoyants and the psychics might describe it differently. I saw, Judith Kusel, she was describing it as incredible love flowing in. I saw it as this huge wave, like a golden cloud of plasma moving through the universe. and now through a new portal coming into our galaxy, and of course having impact on our consciousness, on our world. So when you get such a huge influx of such pure, incredible, luminous energy, high vibrational energy, just blissful energy, loving energy, that what happens is that all the other energies in this world that are not of that essence, they have to cease to exist. So I believe this is the trajectory we are on, especially in 2025, where we have big breakthroughs that will happen on 11/11 and December 21st. And so, how to live our life now? I think it's very different from what we had in the past, and the opportunities, of course, are so unbelievable. They just, everything is new. So, yes, I had the habit, for example, of, watching videos on YouTube, and now and again you get a video which is about all the disturbing things happening in this world, the story. And so I had to make a decision, and that was during Lionsgate, not to give any power to any of it and to actually disconnect from all of it as if it is not happening and paint my own picture. Because really, the only thing that we can influence is what surrounds us, and we can witness it. So let's say, you live in a neighborhood, so you can make your neighborhood more beautiful. You can create meditation groups for your neighbors, for your family, for those people in your orbit. So whatever orbits around you, that's like very real. And also, you can affect the whole world through your vibration. And so, for me, it was not useful, for example, to be watching news about the political situations and instead create a vibration that is my new picture. And in the new picture, we always invoke the divine leadership for this world, planetary consciousness. And one of the really important things that we cannot forget, because sometimes, we have so much information given to us on these calls. And there is something that, like, I have to remember every single day how important that was. When one day we received a revelation from a very high level of the tree of life that is known as Ein Sof, really the infinite. And the infinite spoke, and the infinite said, uphold the very important creation principle, which is the underlying oneness of all life. So, underlying oneness of all life. So, I try to remember it in all that we do, underlying oneness of all life. And so, that is the foundation of all the things in our life. So, when we create, when we paint the new picture, then always remembering, is this supporting that principle? Is this upholding the principle? Is this truly for the highest good of all? So, we just had incredible energies, just unbelievable energies. It was so exceptional for the equinox that we had. And the day before equinox, we had the partial solar eclipse, which was visible from New Zealand, some parts of Australia, and Antarctica. So, what those energies did, they were just unbelievable. And so, my recommendation always is when we have these big celestial events, it's good to be in nature. It's good to take shoes off, connect your body with her, connect your electromagnetic field with her. So, many of us did that. And for me, the night of the equinox was unbelievable. But many friends and also family members told me that they had unbelievable experiences. Even people who never have experiences that we would call, multidimensional, had multidimensional experiences that night. So that's when I saw that incredible wave of this energy that you see here, this really golden light moving not only through this world, but actually through the universe. And we have multiverses. So I always say, creation is cosmos with multiverses, and within these universes, we have then all the galaxies and the other systems like solar systems, planetary systems, star systems. So there's a lot moving through this galaxy. There is a lot moving through this universe. And I believe this is also why the yugas that we've had in the past will be changed. And so this is a realignment for entire universe. That's huge. This was on Sunday, September 14th. Some seers saw this actually a few days before I did, but it is seen and it has been seen by several other seers. So there's always a validation, confirmation. It's really wonderful. Um, I saw Don Humberto, who worked with us. I think I have a picture here of Don Humberto. Some of you met him, some of you worked with him at Mount Shasta. This was our second time, for some of you, actually, a third time being able to work with Don Humberto. Don Humberto is part of the Caro Nation. It's a very small nation in the high Andes of Peru. These are not shamans. They don't do any plant medicines. They work with mystical energies. They work with the Grand Central Sun. And not every Caro is, a high priest, but Don Humberto is a high priest. And he's able to connect with the rays of the Grand Central Sun and transmit them to a person or to the land and to what they call Pachamama, which is the cosmic mother nature, not just Mother Earth. So as we were working with Don Humberto, we were receiving these transmissions from the Grand Central Sun. Some of you, received 6 transmissions just when you came in August and September, because we were working always in different groups. And so every single transmission that we received from the Grand Central Sun was also channeled and transmitted into the Earth. So on September 14th, I saw how each of these transmissions were creating an energetic pyramid that would then pierce through the kind of membranes between the Earth, the galaxy, and the universe, and create an opening that looked just like this, like a vortex of energy, a wormhole, a portal. And the energy started to flow in those both directions, but including the Earth, the galaxy, and the universe. So this is now permanently open for the energy flow. And this is just the result of all these incredible transmissions. And, it all adds up. We are in one quantum field, so I cannot say one group did it. I'm going to say it's a collective of all the beings on this planet doing this great work. So, as I mentioned, Green Tara's work is dedicated to the highest potential of the human being as they go with the timeline of nature. So I had an incredible experience when I was 13 that many of you know. I was chanting from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and I was really dedicated to those mantras from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And I didn't know really why. We have past lives where obviously this work started or even has been completed. And so we just pick up from there when we come into this lifetime. So as a young teenager, I really felt so drawn to those mantras from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And I experienced something that I would assume happens when we die. It was not an out of body experience because I also know what they look like. That was so much complete and absolute. And in that absolute experience, I was approached by this beautiful divine being that, I could say it was Divine Mother. I could say it was Mother Mary. I don't know. It was one of those, but I don't have information about who she was. And she told me that I had to go back in. And she said, you still have to grow along the tree of life. Now, I had no idea what she meant by the tree of life. And it was only later that I learned, about the Kabbalah and about the tree of life. And then Divine Mother taught us so much about the tree of life. So when I think in meditation, before I meditate, I have a question. And my question is, what is the highest potential of the human being? And then it's like an aha moment in meditation. Well, you already know it is to become a full grown tree of life, fully self realized at every level of your being. And that's for every single one of us. So, what happened, in the past in what we call samsara, the false matrix, is that some seeds were permanently dormant and nothing was happening. Nature was calling. Nature was saying, ascend with me, ascend, open up, rise, ascend, go higher and higher, spiral up, spiral up. But nobody was opening up. And so that was not evolution. It was not ascension. And ascension is a natural occurrence. It's all about nature, but of course, nature beyond just what we perceive as nature. And so, for us to be a self realized, fully realized being is to fully grow along the tree of life. Now, we could go, many of you probably studied the Kabbalah, so you know the Kabbalistic tree of life, and it actually has 12 aspects of divinity. So, some of the trees of life, they only have 10 aspects, but of course, we work with 12 aspects of divinity. So, it's really a diagram of our divinity. It's a diagram how we connect to the divine self. And so, it is a structure within us, it's a structure of consciousness and energy. And so, when we liberate from the illusion of the limited self, and we can grow from the seed of life, we become a flower of life. From the flower of life, we become a tree of life. And so, if only we can be the tree of life, fully self realized at every level of our being, and that's, of course, the work that we do here. Everything that we do here is this holistic approach to reconnect us to all that we are. And for that, the human being connects to the soul and then connects to the spirit. And the spirit is the divine self. And we can say within, but also without, because the divine self is not just within, it is also part of our tree of life as the crown, not the crown of the body, but the crown of the tree of life, our highest level of our being. So 12 aspects of divinity, 12 sephirots, they called in the tree of life, the spheres of consciousness. So every single one of us is invited by nature to blossom, to grow, to sprout, and to eventually give fruit. And that perpetuates creation, and it's our fruit. Trees of life are really highly evolved beings who then have the flow of energy that we call the toroidal field. Of course, it goes down into the roots of the being, and it can be non-physical. It doesn't have to be a person who is in a body. Of course, it can be a cosmic being, and it creates this flow of energy. And then the being supports other smaller trees that are still growing. And that's, for example, what Yogananda is doing, and other, of course, avatars who embodied here or didn't even embody, but they are supporting us energetically. And they are adding their light, their consciousness, their guidance to our field. They're nourishing us with their light. So we are being nourished by other trees of life. So we grow to full stature. That's what it is. Every day, nature is calling us from within and without. She's calling us from the stars. She's calling us from the planet. The planetary logos is such a big being. It's all really, to me at least, all about nature. When I was embodying into the person that I am now in this body, so when I was a child, I kept going out of body all the time, every night, for like every single night in my very early childhood, to a planet that was destroyed. And I never understood what's going on. Why am I so sad when I'm there? What happened to this planet? Why was there some kind of explosion? Everything is just lifeless. Everything looked like there was a nuclear explosion that destroyed an entire planet. So many people have a similar memory and they say this planet was Marduk. Marduk. I cannot tell you the name because I don't know the name. I just know my experience. Going there every night and being so sad in a way that the planetary logos, the soul of the planet, was actually destroyed by, unconsciousness of the beings who resided on this planet. So I think about it in terms of our planetary logos, our soul of the planet, and that we are here to be part of her, to evolve with her, to ascend with her, to serve her, to align with her, to honor her. And that's the work that we do here. And that is the love for the planetary logos. It is the love for the planetary soul. And we grow with her. She's giving us information every day, and our light body is not just some kind of spiritual thing disconnected from nature. It is actually a result of that nature. Light is nature. Our consciousness is also nature. And so, as we are in a world where many no longer seek nature, and actually, so many, unfortunately, do not seek nature for this spiritual attunement to her intelligence, we are the ambassadors of nature here. And nature, sometimes people disconnect spirituality from nature, but actually, spirituality and nature are one because we are speaking about cosmic mother nature in all things and all forms. So it is important to be choosing her as opposed to be just choosing, this artificial world of artificial intelligence. And without consciousness, things become dangerous. Without consciousness, people are misled. And when I was able to see these different timelines happening in this world, I truly saw that there is that one beautiful timeline, and that is the timeline of the new earth. And that timeline has to do with our ability to be in love. And in that love, we are able to read nature's directions because she has her own direction. It's like a river that flows, and that's a direction. So I can call it the divine plan because it simply flows, and it flows because there is that direction. So attuning with that direction. And we find it, of course, through meditation because it requires certain sensitivity. So we were invoking through our mantra Kalki, and the story of Kalki is that this being will be the destroyer of the dark rulers of the Kali Yuga, purifying the earth of corruption, greed, and ignorance, and re-establishing truth, compassion, and harmony. And so that is another motivation why to invoke this beautiful energy of Kalki. So I mentioned that we work with Don Humberto, and again, many of you came. We were doing offerings for Pachamama, the cosmic mother nature, every single day. This is known, the care is called Despacho. And then we were receiving the initiations from the Grand Central Sun, the Karpai. Don Humberto is in his late 80s now. We think he doesn't know exactly when he was born, but for him to come to us and to be able to do the work with us, it's a huge, huge blessing. And for him, it is what he lives for. It's his purpose. And so, I believe as long as he's alive, he will want to continue doing this great work. One of the initiations that we received, and that was, obviously also channeled into the earth, and we were in a beautiful place at Mount Shasta and a little new earth oasis that was just so magical. And so pouring that energy from the Grand Central Sun from through Don Humberto and through our work into the earth was just incredible. And the final day, he always, made a decision kind of like depending on the energies of the collective, depending on the planetary energies, depending on the cosmic energies, he decided which initiation he would be doing. Some of them we repeated even. We did initiations for divine love quite a few times. But the last one, he decided to do something so incredible. Like I was blown away every day, but he did initiations of the Nustas. So Nustas, to me, it's a little bit like when we talk about Devas. So the divine feminine, mothers of form, you can say really the sacred feminine energies of nature, again, nature. And so he was transmitting these energies from the Grand Central Sun directly into the earth through the participants, but now available, of course, to all life on Mother Earth. And it was the initiation of the Nustas. And that was really the peak of our work. And that is what then led to that new opening of the portal between the Earth, the galaxy, and the universe. So it's incredible. Um, we always work with Orin here with Green Tara. It's a combination of really Yogananda, Mother Nature, and then Orin. And we did the work with Orin also at Mount Shasta. We were working with the Devas, and then that's again something that came through the Lion's Gate. So now for the next few weeks, months, I don't know how long, we will be dedicating that to the work with the Devas. So today we start the great work with the Devas. So there is one course that Orin did and transmitted in a profound way. I'm working with this every single day. I've been working with this every single day since Lionsgate. It is so miraculous. And I know I often recommend courses because I personally work with them all the time. And I have done so for so many, by now, decades. And so I really, truly believe that everyone always benefits by working with Orin. So I start my day with Orin. Orin has a short meditation room online, which is completely free. And if that's all you want to do, then that alone will make a huge difference to your life. The way that Orin works, many of you know, Orin transmits energy. So during you listening to Orin speaking, it's always very profound. To me, these days people do a lot of channeling, and I don't even like listening to it because it's like a lot of what I would say personality input from the person. But when you listen to Orin's transmissions, I would never call it channeling, even though Sanaya said she channeled. I can't imagine. To me, it's just speaking unbelievable instructions. It is so profound, unbelievably profound, and it's always instructional. So you are being instructed, and as you are being instructed, and I've had this experience through my third eye, you are actually in a reality that already happened. It already happened, and you are now witnessing that reality, which is beyond time and space, and you are in it, and it is happening as you enter it through Orin's transmissions. And it's, of course, moving energy because it's a transmission of energy and instructions. It's basically Orin describing what already happened in higher realms and you are entering. And so when you open your third eye, you will always have a few seconds seeing before Orin even describes it. So it's really how profound Orin is. So the human mind, right? We have like several minds. One of them is really annoying. One of them is also annoying. So we have the subconscious mind, and then we call it conscious mind, but I would call it still unconscious mind. And then there is the higher mind, the mind of the divine self, which really is something so different from the other two minds. So subconscious mind, unconscious mind, the constant thinking mind, the constant talking mind, that is the annoying mind, very, very dysfunctional mind. We want to be stepping into the divine mind. The divine mind functions completely differently. And again, we did so many calls explaining the different minds and the difference between them and how they work. So let's say you start your day with just, 4 minutes, and we can actually do one. We're going to do one together. You switch gears. You give the unconscious and subconscious mind a break and you say, I'm going to visualize. That's a very different way of thinking. So when you're just listening to some audiobook, you are usually thinking along or thinking. But when you work with Orin, you are receiving a transmission and you are invited to visualize. That's something that many people don't do anymore, visualizing. And so we are visualizing, even if it's usually Orin's transmissions about 25 minutes, but you can go for the shorter ones. So we will be working for the next few weeks with building a radiant aura. And actually, I'm going to do a 6-day online retreat fully dedicated to building a radiant aura. So sometimes I have to drive long distances or fly places. I'm always listening to Orin. You at the airport, listen to Orin. You on the plane, listen to Orin. You driving, listen to Orin, or do your mantras. It's switching gear. It's actually activating the much higher mind. And if you combine it holistically with everything else we do, for example, diet, like when you combine a few things so that will affect your physical body, etheric body, your mental body, emotional body, and you bring in sound of the mantras, or you will listen to brainwaves with Kelly Howell, you are creating a superhuman. And that superhuman still looks human because we all have these, little vessels here that we are in. But in these vessels is either a lot of consciousness or very little consciousness, or a lot of unconsciousness, or no unconsciousness, or very little unconsciousness. So on the outside, it all looks the same. but on the inside. How do we create conditions for the tree of life to blossom? How do we create the best condition for our tree of life? Can we, like gardeners, actually approach our own tree of life, give it the best soil, give it the best air, give it the best sunshine, give it the best music, and so on and so on? So every day, think of yourself as a gardener creating the best condition for your tree of life. And it does physically start, of course, with what we eat. And then it's so many different layers, what we consume as energy, what we give attention to. But imagine, like, this is to me my fascination. How can we be that superhuman who is fully grown to full stature, tree of life, with the best conditions every day? And it doesn't have to be perfect, because, perfection is a strange word that comes from duality. The divine self already is completely perfect. The divine self is perfect, that's it. You have a divine self, you're perfect at the level of the divine self. But how do we reconnect these channels with the divine self so that the perfection is flowing really well of the divine self into the human being that can then be filled with the light of consciousness? We will do that. We'll have a 6-day online retreat. We'll be working with the radiant aura. And I wanted to introduce this a little bit. The ultimate Deva, we will be working with the Devas. The ultimate Deva, the ultimate Devi, the shining one, is the mother, is the divine mother. Here on these calls, we always have Lakshmi with us, not because we called her, not because we chose it, but because she chose to be here. And she told us she will be on every call we do. And so we are here in her lap. We are in her lap. And it's interesting, we work with the green Tara. That was the original impulse that really started this work. But Divine Mother came in many different forms, and one of them was the Lakshmi, who said she will be here holding us in her lap for every call we do. And so the ultimate Deva that we work with, the queen, is Divine Mother. Divine Mother in any of her form. Here we have the Mahaprakriti form, which really got anchored in this universe, in this world that we are part of, not just this realm, but the big world. She got anchored on September 2nd, 2024. And some of you even, we created a statue from the sacred crystal called Liuli. And some of you have it. I have a few more left. If you're interested, they're on the website. But to me, it's anchoring her form into this world, bringing heaven to earth. So we will be working with the radiant angel of the Devas. Again, I like to anchor these energies. I was actually told to do it. I was told that when there are celestial energies, and of course our ancient being people, our ancient civilizations, they did exactly that. They were always anchoring cosmic energies into form on planet Earth. So here we anchored Mahaprakriti through the incredible artwork of artists that we work with. And here we also anchored the radiant angel of the Devas at Mount Shasta. This is a very tall angel. And the group that we had, two groups at Mount Shasta, we worked with the radiant angel, and then we planted her. You see behind her is Mount Shasta. So the sacred, as they call the spirit of the mountain, Apu. So Apu, Waika, Mount Shasta in Native American language is called Waika. And so instead of calling it Shasta, I invite everyone switching gears to some sacred sounds. So Apu, Waika. So Apu Waika is where we anchored this beautiful divine angel of the Devas. We will be together working on the etheric body. Now, how do we get that radiant aura? And why do we want radiant aura? So, we are here in this world to carry the light of God that is within us into the world. But of course, let's say we've incarnated before. Let's say this could also be our first incarnation. Maybe unlikely for this mission, it's more the children that could be the first time here. But if we've been around, we've been around. And so then our etheric body might not be a beautiful, luminous snowflake, But how does it affect us? How does our etheric body affect us? So the snowflake around us might look like a broken spider web, might look quite dirty instead of luminous, and might be really not intact, not bringing the light of the soul and the light of the spirit so well into the person, into the consciousness. So when we improve our etheric body, which is the goal of the work we will be doing for the next few weeks and then during the retreat, is that we are cleansing, we are purifying, we are rebuilding, we are restructuring something so important that determines the quality of everything in our life. It even determines the quality of our thoughts. I personally believe our thoughts do not come from our brain, but are much more a field that is around us, and it depends on the electromagnetic field of our physical body and how we either tune into higher thoughts or lower thoughts. So, I would say our etheric body, again, fully determines the quality of our entire life. Not just our thoughts, not just our feelings, but even our physical body. The etheric field can have so much information in it from other lifetimes that could be very actually burdening the physical body in this lifetime. Some diseases might even be as a result of information in the etheric body from past lives. Some injuries and all of it. So when we clean up the etheric body, you can think of the etheric body this way. This is the way that I see it. It is like tiny little straws. So straws are hollow. And so if these straws are hollow, then the energy can flow, not flow. The straw can be dirty on the inside or not. And so we want to clean up every straw. Now, plus, we are creating the mandala. We are creating this beautiful, idealized structure around us so that our experience can be completely fresh, so that we are not just repeating whatever is already written into the etheric body. We can actually purify it. For that, we work with the Deva. And not just one Deva, we work with many millions of Devas. So this is actually a great painting. This was from Alex Gray. And again, here you can see the etheric body and how it connects into the physical. So this is not fresh when we are born. This already can be very, very broken and determine the quality or not of our entire experience of life. So that's why this work is so powerful. So we want to be cleaning up these channels of energy, these tubes of energy, these straws of energy, and how they enter all the way to our physical. Yeah, this is amazing. Truly, he was able to see this. So then you see also our aura in this picture, which is, of course, our radiance and our illumination. So the Devas, the word comes from Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a cosmic language, the original cosmic language. We have some cosmic languages. Hebrew is another cosmic language. We have a few cosmic languages that actually are received as a language into this world. So in Sanskrit, a Deva means the shining one. Devas, the shining ones. They come from source, and source is spirit. I know that in this world, many different spiritual teachings didn't care much about the distinctions between, higher self, soul, spirit, the divine self, the I am presence, and they just put it all into one. But actually, we have different aspects of our being. If you imagine that our much larger body is a multidimensional body, it has different layers. And these different layers is for us our soul, and then our divine self, which also is another name for spirit. And so when we work with the Devas, they come from the oneness of spirit, and they bring light with them. So that's why they are called the shining ones. And they bring light from higher realms, from higher sources of light. We want to be working with the Devas of spirit itself, with the Devas of the sun. We want to be working with the Devas of different stars. So we will be working with those. We will be working with Devas that we will reconnect our channel through the spine all the way to the highest level of our being, which is the luminous divine self, the I am. So again, they are the builders of form. They are the spirit of form, and they are also the mothers of form. So they embody nature and they guard nature and cosmic principles. Then we also have, I didn't want to have all the Devas look like they are from Europe. So they are the guardians of nature. And because many of you have heard the term Deva Loka, so that's the name for the realm and many different realms from which the Devas originate. The Devas are also nature spirits, but sometimes when people say nature spirit, it sounds, like a tiny little thing and nothing. But spirit as the highest level of our multidimensional reality. So they come from the oneness of spirit. They are also angelic intelligences. So when we work with the Devas, they are able to also remove old Davic life that might be in our etheric body that was damaged. How does Davic life get damaged? How does it get distorted? How does it become ugly? How does it become heavy? How does it become a problem in our field if it all came from spirit? Well, that's through our mind, through our choices, through our words, through our actions. So let's say in this world, I've seen some timelines that are not so pretty. And one of the interesting things that the not so pretty timelines had in common is when people, for example, gave their life force again and again and again to their screens through something where they would be releasing their life force through whatever stimulates them on the screen. And if it is a repeated thing, wasting of life force, then that creates devas that start looking more and more distorted and more dysfunctional. And so when we work with these higher devas, we are actually liberating our field from all the devas that were given the wrong information. And wrong, right and wrong. It's simple as information that make them less and less and less beautiful in terms of their light, their capability, the gift that they had actually then was turned by the person through the choice of their actions, through the choice of their words, through the choice of their thoughts or their feeling nature. It turns the devas into something less and less and less beneficial. So, for example, you can imagine when somebody is often depressed or their mind has repeated thoughts that are not beautiful, then that creates Davic life that then is a burden instead of a blessing. So we want to be liberating from all that we might have given information that was not beautiful. And we talk about beauty not as like a physical aspect, not at all. This is about beautiful energy. So beautiful energy is luminous energy, is light energy, is joyful energy, is loving energy. So I said that we will get a little taste, not of the Devas right now, but we will be just doing a 4-minute transmission with Orin. This one is very powerful. I recommend again in the morning, just when you start your day, maybe reaching for a little bit of Orin. And this one is the activation of our codes in our cells. So it's called cellular activation. And so that was a wonderful transmission. And then sometimes all it takes to activate the codes of evolution in our cells, which is, of course, very beneficial for this ascension process. So I mentioned that we always have a holistic approach to our tree of life. And of course, one of the very important things and elements in our work is our breath. And so attuning with sound, with movement, with breath, with visualization, with transmissions. That's a great condition as a gardener to also use the breath. And again, we've taught so many classes here, and we will again keep using different breathing techniques, but the ones I always mention, and we will practice those every day in our online retreat, is the breath of fire, the breath that uses the alternate nostril breathing. And then we also have the spinal breath, where we move the energy and consciousness through the spine into the spiral, ascending spiral, and then also descending energy. So we will do another call for this group on Friday. So this week on Friday. And on that call, I will play one of the transmissions with Orin, which will be for the purification of your aura. So whether you decide to participate then in our online retreat or not, purifying the aura with the Devas is life-changing. And so that's what we will do on Friday. And again, we have another call today at 5 p.m. where I cannot say that we will repeat the same information. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. But if you're around, join us again. And thank you so much for being here, and many blessings.